JavaScript ES6 arrow functions. Functions can be thought of as mini programs. They take input, can process data, and are able of producing output. Functions are created using their keyword function, the name of the function, its parameters, and then its body and enclosed in opening and closing curly brackets. In this example, see, we have the function keyword, the name of the function example, followed by open and closing parentheses, enclosing any parameters it would have, separated by commas, none in this case, and then finally its body enclosed in opening and closing curly brackets. In JavaScript, functions can also be written without a name. These are called anonymous functions, literally without a name. Functions are also a kind of value, along with strings and numbers and other things. This means they can be saved in variables, in which case they take on the name of the variable. In this case, function example becomes a function because its value is a function. But the function itself, that is the value of the variable function example, doesn't have a name. Therefore, it is an anonymous function serving as the value of the variable function example. Anonymous functions are most often used with methods like forEach. An array, for example, has this method forEach that runs on each entry within the array. So for each entry in the array, we can use an anonymous function here past the parameters value and index to, at least in this example, print the value and index of each entry within the array. ES6 JavaScript post 2015 added something new called arrow functions. These are more lightweight versions of functions designed for when anonymous functions would have been used. They take their name from the arrow, the equal sign, greater than sign paired together, pointing from the parameters to the body of the function. Notice right here this example, function example, the same as shown on the previous slide, but now using an arrow function, open and closing parentheses, the arrow, equal sign, greater than sign, pointing away from the parameters to the body of the function. This is an example of an arrow function, a much more lightweight version of a function. As an additional shorthand, the open and closing parentheses and open and closing curly brackets can be dropped completely when a single parameter and a single statement are used. Here are two examples of that. Notice the same forEach method, but in this case, value is the only parameter. The arrow function is used, pointing away from the parameters to the body of the function, but as a single statement, there are no open and closing curly brackets because there's only a single line, a single statement as part of the body of that arrow function. This serves as a quick shorthand. And again, arrow functions are a kind of value because functions are a kind of value. In this second example here, arrow example is set to the arrow function containing a single parameter value, the arrow pointing away from the parameters to the body of the function that contains a single line, console.log. In both cases, the result would be the same. It would print the single value. Notice though that if we wanted the value and index, as per the previous use with an anonymous function using the function keyword, we would have to use the open and closing parentheses around all parameters. If it's a single value, it can drop the parentheses, and if it's a single line, a single statement within the body of the function, it can also drop the open and closing curly brackets. But if it's more than one line within the body, you need the open and closing curly brackets, and if it's more than a single parameter, you need the open and closing parentheses for the arrow function. This has been a review of arrow functions within JavaScript ES6.